Welcome everyone who joined us for this virtual session and information about EMT program. My name is Anya. I am the Dean of Enrollment here at Clinton, and joining us today is the Community and Workforce Development Specialist, Angela Kelly. She's in the background helping us out with this info session, and really probably the most important person on the call, Storm Trainer, who is the instructor for the course and coordinator of the program. But I'll let her introduce herself in just a little bit.
All right, my name is Storm Trainer. I am a registered nurse who has been involved in EMS since the probably 1979, seems like forever now. I'm also a nurse in the emergency room. I teach at Clinton Community College in their EMT program, and I am also the EMS coordinator for the county. So my interest in EMS stems from a long background of knowing what our needs are for the county and how you can help us to be able to do that by becoming an emergency medical technician. So what is emergency medical services and what does it mean to you? So do you want to work with people? Is that something you have an interest in? Do you want to help someone on what could be the worst day of their life? Do you like a constantly changing work environment? Or maybe you just need something a little more structured. It's really up to you. Do you like being up all day and night? Or do you need a little more structure for that too? Most of us, when you get to be my age, like a little more sleep. However, for some of you who are younger, being up all day and all night seems to be a problem. What gets your adrenaline flowing? What makes sense to you? And can you help your fellow residents, your fellow neighbors, your fellow students, whatever, in emergency medical services? How do you get started? You can always join a department, either an ambulance squad or a fire department that has an ambulance. You can also come and take a course and then join a department or get a job. You can come take the course and see if maybe medicine is something you're interested in. Because maybe this is not the end of your course, but really just the beginning of your involvement in emergency medicine. And it doesn't take a whole lot to do that. When I say join a department, go to your local rescue squad, go to your local fire department, have a talk with them, see what it's about, see what's involved, see what they'd like you to do. What skills do you need to begin this process? First of all, you need to be able to read and write, which most of you should be able to do. If you're able to use a computer, that's certainly something. But you also have to be able to do some simple math calculations. There's some math involved in this in all medicine, so it is important that you have some simple skills. Do you like working with the public sector, with people who have various ailments? Everybody can comfort somebody. There is nothing that people like more than to have somebody hold their hand, make sure that they're feeling okay. It always gives us a good feeling when we're able to do that. So working with the public in emergency medicine is exactly that role. And then you need to be able to make decisions. Sometimes you need to be able to take direction and to give direction. So depending on the circumstances of the patient's crisis, you may need to be able to do something more involved or something less involved. We can teach you everything else, but you need to be able to get out there and put yourself in front of it and see if that's something that you're interested in. What does the program involve? What do you learn when you come to EMT class? We lecture you about medical conditions. You're going to do some reading and you're going to do some tests for knowledge and skills. You're going to complete some take-home assignments. You're going to spend 10 hours in the emergency room, learning what happens when patients actually come into the emergency room, how they fall through the process, and how they get taken care of. You're also going to be expected to go on 5 to 10 ambulance calls with a local squad. Whether or not you belong to a department or not, that ambulance experience is invaluable because it tells you whether or not this is something that's really for you. Can you go to a scene and take care of somebody who's vomiting? Can you go take care of somebody who's got some difficulty breathing? What about trauma? That's always something that people think is so exciting, but sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it can be devastating. So what is it that you want to do? And you'll get an opportunity to do this on your 5 or 10 ambulance calls. There is approximately 180 hours worth of time involved in completing this coursework. When do classes start? What's the schedule and time commitment? So basic EMT goes September 4th this semester through January 16th, where you take your New York State final exam. That allows you to become an EMT in New York State. You will meet Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there are about 3 or 4 Saturday sessions, I believe, that run from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. They come at various Saturdays when they fit it into this course schedule. So there is some Saturday commitment. The AEMT course is a little different. That runs September 5th through February 20th when they're going to take their New York State final exam. This is a 1 semester or over 2 semester course. It's going to meet Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:30 to 10 p.m. You have to have completed a basic EMT course before you can go and take the AEMT course. Critical care techs can take the AEMT course to refresh at this level. If you elect not to maintain your critical care by CME registration, then you can drop to the AEMT level and take and complete a basic refresher course at the AEMT level. So know that that is an option for you. What do you learn in basic EMT? Patient assessment. What's wrong with your patient? Do they have a medical complaint? Do they have trauma? Do they have shortness of breath? Do they have chest pain? Do the two go together? Or maybe they have an allergic reaction. Maybe they need an EpiPen. Do you know how to give it? You'll learn about trauma care. How do you splint fractures? How do you stop bleeding? How to use a tourniquet correctly? You learn how to manage medical emergencies, how to take care of somebody who is just plain sick, all right? You learn to utilize basic life support equipment, how to put in an airway, how to give somebody a little oxygen. You learn CPR. How do we take care of somebody whose heart stopped? How do we get it restarted again if we're going to be able to? The use of an automated external defibrillator. What if their heart is in a different rhythm and we need to correct it? What about hemorrhage control? What if somebody's bleeding? How do I get it to stop? And what if it won't? What do I do? How about fracture management and spinal stabilization? You're involved in a motor vehicle accident and you've messed up your spine. Do you want somebody to take care of you that knows how to stabilize your spine and get you to the hospital correctly so you don't have further injury? You're going to manage environmental emergencies. Heat, the little bit of heat that we have in the North Country, of course. And then, of course, there is always the cold, which we have much more of. We'll teach you how to do emergency childbirth. We'll teach you how to give some basic life support medications, something that will correct somebody's medical emergency. What do you learn as an AEMT? You're going to add a whole lot more to your basic knowledge in all of your learning and skills. In addition to that, you're going to learn about advanced airways, how to start an IV, how to draw blood, and you're going to learn a whole lot more about the disease processes your patients have. So the course is a little bit longer. It makes you think a little bit more. It makes you delve into your patient's problems. It makes it much more helpful. Right? And that's really what it's all about. Okay, so how do you advance to the next level? And what are your advancement opportunities? You need to complete your basic training, pass your complete your basic training, pass the course, pass the final practical skills exam, and pass the New York State certifying exam. You become a basic EMT. You take that knowledge You are then qualified to ride in the back of an ambulance with a patient on any certified ambulance in New York State that will allow you to ride with them. You can also go on and become an AEMT, or you could go on and become a paramedic, which is the highest level of pre-hospital care in New York State and across the nation. So when we talk about moving through the process, once you become a paramedic, there isn't anywhere else to go in the EMS world except to become an instructor. Of course, we're always looking for good instructors. So once you do that, it's always helpful. You may go on and decide that this is something you want to do and medicine is your thing, and you may go on to nursing or to some other medical profession, maybe a physician. We've had several people in the program that have moved on into the physician world. So there is no limit to where you can go if it's something you're really interested in. What do you earn at completion? Students who successfully complete all course requirements sit for the exam. If you pass, you're eligible to take the National Registry exam. There are fees that apply for this one. You can do it within 1 year of certification, and you're allowed to take your National Registry, and you can use it in any state that accepts National Registry. So if you decide to move away from New York State, you can go somewhere else where National Registry is recognized, and they'll recognize your National Registry certification. What do you do as a certified EMT? What are the job outcomes? You can volunteer as an EMT with your local squad. Fun thing to do, it's out of the house, night, day, whenever you have a few minutes to spend. It's a group of people who are interested in caring for people in their community. You can get a job as an EMT. There was a day when I first started at this, when people would ask me, well, how do I get a job? And I would say there aren't any. Today, more and more, because there are fewer and fewer volunteers, we need more and more paid EMTs, and we are moving more and more to paid squads. So there are jobs, may not always be exactly what you want. You got to get started. So go look for one, see what's available, explore your options. Paid squads there are very few unpaid squads left in Clinton County. Most of them are paid at this point. So they are always looking for people. Some of them are a combination of both paid and volunteer squads, so you can work with both. If you're interested in a medical career, EMT is a great way to get started. Being part of the EMT team provides you with several things. It provides you with a sense of pride. A sense of pride in that you've got a knowledge base that allows you to care for others. It's an opportunity to help your community. Everyone gets sick at some point in their life. Who do you want caring for your family member? Do you want somebody with good training? Somebody who's taken the time to commit to be able to do this kind of work? It's a sense of accomplishment. If you didn't think you could do this, and you can read and write and you can take direction and you can make decisions, it gives you a whole different sense of accomplishment to be able to go on a call and take care of somebody and get them to the hospital safely. It's extensive emergency response. And there's an emergency, irregardless of what it is. It's an airplane crash, a motor vehicle accident, or just somebody who's having some trouble breathing. It doesn't matter. What if your family member is arrested? And who would you want to take care of them? The mass and the health. So through the process is part of, it is one of the things we look to do. I started out a nurse and came back to being an EMT simply because there was a need at the time. Somebody said to me one day, what do EMTs learn? Or I guess I said that to somebody else, and they said, we don't know. And I said, well, that doesn't work, because if we don't know what they learn, we can't criticize. So I took my first EMT course in 1979, and I have never looked back. It has been a rewarding career for me for lots of reasons. I have a group of EMTs that I couldn't think more highly of in this world. They go out at all times of the night or day to do this kind of stuff. So there is an EMS family of nearly 65,000 providers in New York State. Become one of this group, all right, of elite people who know an emergency. So we'll look at some questions. So how do you register? Go to www.clinton.edu/EMS, or you can call the number on the screen. We'd like you to register by August 29th, because that will let us know our numbers and how our courses are going to flow this fall. There will be another course if you can't make this one because the time frame doesn't fit your need. There will be another course in the spring. So stay tuned. We'll do this again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Storm. It was very informative. Again, participants, if you got a specific question you'd like to ask, either unmute your mic and ask it, or you can type it in the chat window and we'll make sure to answer it. We've got a few minutes left in the half an hour or so. Storm, let me ask you some questions that we commonly get about the EMT program. Let's start with one. Will I drive an ambulance?
You may drive an ambulance. It will depend on the squad that you ride with and what their needs are. But sometimes we have ambulance drivers, and sometimes you will drive as part of your role. You'll take an evac course in order to be able to do that, usually with a squad who either you volunteer with or who hires you.
Okay, great. And do you offer the course during the day?
We do not currently offer the course during the day. We have not had a need to offer the course during the day. Every time we have tried it in the past, we have not had enough participants. If for some reason enough people call in and say they'd like a daytime course, we would certainly consider it.
Okay, we just got a question from a participant. I would be coming in as a refresher. What are my requirements for a refresher? Also, is there a practice exam I could practice ahead of time?
You're going to take, so to become a refresher, there's a couple of things you can do. So there's two different ways to approach it. You can approach it as a challenge student to the refresher course. So you come in the first night of class, you take a challenge written exam. The following, either the next Saturday or the Saturday after that, we do the practical skills exam, the same one you took when you first became an EMT. And based on those two scores, we make a decision on what classes you need to come to. The other way to do it is simply say that you want to come to every single class and waive the challenge. Every refresher student gets to challenge the course if they so desire to do so, however.
Okay, what if somebody cannot make a class?
So you are allowed a few absences, but we try to minimize those as much as we can. Every piece of classwork is important. If you're a brand new student in this class, we will try and make up the work with you. So all labs have to be making up with a lab instructor. And we have a list of those who you can work with. Or if it's a written assignment, so you were supposed to be at a lecture, we're going to expect you to write a paper on the lecture material so that you summarize it so that we know that you understand what it is that that lecture was about.
Okay, thank you. And what if somebody decided they don't like the sight of blood? Are there other duties as an EMT that they can do?
There are certainly lots of things you can do. You don't necessarily need to be an EMT sometimes to do them. If you just want to get involved and be a driver, or you just want to be a golfer, you can do that. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. Sometimes it's somebody to go get equipment out of the ambulance when you're at a scene, be able to know where it is on the ambulance, to be able to get it quickly, to get it trained for the patient.
Okay. And what if somebody took, can somebody take advanced EMT, AEMT, right after they receive the EMT basic certification?
Yes. They can take it right after the very next course is offered. There is no delay. You don't have to have any time between.
And how long is the certification good for?
Certification is good for 3 years in New York State. And then you have to refresh in either this format at the college, or you can refresh in other ways, but those are much more rigorous.
Okay. And are there any extra study groups to review the course content as part of this program?
We encourage all students to form study groups, and we will work with them to be able to help them facilitate that. Typically the instructors don't typically get involved in a lot of study groups because it really ties up most of our time. So we tend to encourage you to build study groups on your own and bring us questions that you've got during the class time so that everybody benefits.
Okay, and we got a second question. I work for the hospital and I'm using continuing education to pay for the refresher class. How does that work with Clinton Community for the payment?
So the hospital has to give you a letter to commit to pay letter for the course, and you submit it to the college, and that's how that works. And that's all it takes. And then they're committed to paying the funds. And that depends on your union, how you're going through your union. So your union will have rules that will help guide you with that if that's who you're using for continuing education.
Okay, so if we don't have any other questions, if any of you think of anything that you want to ask later tonight or in the days coming up, feel free to, you can email admissions@clinton.edu, or you can email our Community Workforce Development Specialist, Angela Kelly. That's angela.kelly@clinton.edu. You probably have her contact information already if you joined us for this session, and she'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. So thank you so much for joining us. It was very interesting. Thank you so much, Storm, for the presentation. We really appreciate it. And we hope to see you in the program. Thank you so much, everyone. Good night.